was it like growing up in Ashtabula?
Growing up in Ashtabula, it I grew up in a single parent home. Um, Father he was present, but I guess not as much as a child or a son, would like or prefer. So it was a little rough, but at my time growing up, it was a little different. We had a solid group of friends outside, and all we did was play sports. We came home dirty when the street lights cut off, basically every day. And it wasn't what it seems to be now. And I learned a lot coming from the small town, and when I travel now, it's there's actually a pride, of where I've came from.
So what were some of the things in your childhood that made you put these walls up?
Sure. I grew up. I had two younger sisters in the house. Um, there was never a consistent male in our house. My mother, she worked two jobs and provided, as best she could. But we've experienced nights where lights were off, no TV, water might get cut off. But my mom, she was a grinder. She was trying. She was always trying, and I think for me, it was a weight that I put on my own back, my shoulders, was trying to be the man of the house at 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old, and it was heavy. And I didn't know how to express it, and I think that's why sports means so much to me. Um, it was my only outlet at that time. So if you ever go back, and I'm sure if you interviewed anybody who's coached me, they would say that there's a passion, like there's a work ethic. And it was because I took everything that was going on at home and let it out on the court, on the field, on the track. I didn't mind working because I wanted to go home tired so I could go home and just sleep to cancel out all the noise and all the mess going on.
Can you tell me a little bit about your high school football career?
Sure. I played all 4 years of high school football at Lakeside High School in Ashtabula. I started at quarterback, and I actually played defensive back as well my senior year.
And did you play football after high school?
Yes, after high school, I received a scholarship to Lake Erie College. Earned the starting quarterback position as a freshman there.
Okay, did you play how many years at Lake Erie then?
I played 1 year at Lake Erie, and then I actually had my child, my daughter, and I took a few years off, and then I went and played 1 year at Hiram College also.
So did you get a degree?
I have not finished. I think I have about three or four semesters left. So it's definitely the goal. The plan is to finish. So I'm looking forward to getting in a position where I can do that.
So how did you come about to be playing for the Erie Express?
I played for a team in Columbus, Ohio. So I was driving down to Columbus on the weekends during the week for practice. And, Erie's always been a top contender in the league we were in, PAFL. And this year, I got invited to, come to a few indoor workouts, a tryout. So I went through the ball in the indoor, saw some talent they had, saw how the organization was ran, loved a lot about it, and ended up making that my next move.
So that's probably a lot shorter drive to Erie than to Columbus.
Yeah. Erie basically feels like home. Going from a 3 to 3.5 hour ride at times to 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
So this past season was your first year with Erie?
Yes, sir.
So do you see yourself playing for Erie next season?
If I play, kind of have a few thoughts running through my head right now. As you age, the recovery process isn't the same. And the thing I don't want to do is cheat the game. And there's an off-season process. Some training, and I just want to make sure if I'm going to sign up to play again, then I give them what I have, all they deserve. So.
How would you compare your ability to play now versus where you were at high school?
A world of difference. I think I feel like I've always been a decent athlete, but now um, just the mental part of the game. Now at 28, I understand, checking all the reads, the check downs, the hot routes, learning how and when to audible, reading defenses. So I think, as you mature in life, just the mental grows, and that's where I'm at now. I can see things a lot more clear.
What's playing for the Express been like for you this past season?
It's been great. What it's done is it's given me an opportunity to bring quite a few of our youth here from our church to come with me, because now I'm not spending the night in Erie like I was Columbus. So it's exposed, the youth that I'm involved with to, a little higher level of football and develop some better relationships. It's been great.
You want to describe the season? You were, what, 9-0 going
Yeah.
into your conference championship game?
Yeah, from the beginning, we were working hard, in the indoor, when the weather, wasn't cooperating. We had a decent amount of guys showing up to practice. Offense and defense got at it, throughout the off season. And once the season kicked off, it seemed like we were getting better, and better each week. A high-powered offense and just a stingy defense and great special teams, a lot of talent on the team, and we got to a place we were just having fun every Saturday, and but we weren't really battle tested, until we got into the playoffs, and we ran into a team from Alabama who was bigger, a little faster, a little stronger, and went down 22-0 at the half, and I think that was a wake-up call at that point. Let's see what we're really made of. Did we just go 8-0 prior to this for no reason, or do we have something to say why, how that happened? And we ended up fighting through that half and won 31-28. And really got to see who we were, and then we ran into another tough team the next week, and I feel like we may have used what we had, the week prior. But it was a great season, a lot of great relationships. I'm a relationship guy. A lot of great relationships were developed, and just kind of learned a lot about our identity and who we are. So, if I do sign up for next season, there's a confidence going in.
When you're not playing football for the Express, what are you doing?
I am the recreation coordinator for the city of Geneva. So there's a lot to it. It's a fun job. All of our soccer leagues and basketball leagues, kind of got my hands in there, my mind in there, and get to be a part, of kids from 4 years old, 5 years old up, and be a part of the program and help develop teams and help develop players. And also, I am a youth leader at my church. It's called The City. We're located in Geneva High School, and I've learned a lot through that. So we have, I would say we average between 30, 40 teams right now, teenagers from 13 to 17, and getting to work with them and doing a lot of fun things with them, a lot of development, a lot of training with them. So it's good times.
What led you to become involved in the church?
What happened, I met my pastor at a speaking engagement. He was speaking. I was just in the crowd. There were a few people that spoke before him, and I would say we were there probably about an hour and a half, and I was just kind of dozing off at that point. And when he got up and closed it out, there was just something about him that woke me up and put a spark in me, and I just couldn't wait to meet the guy. I had no idea who he was, never seen him or heard of him, and that day just gave me a hug, told me he loved me. We just met, and I guess, as a son always searching for a father's love, you don't hear that a lot, especially from a man. I feel like as men, we tend to struggle with that. I love you and compassion. And he showed it from the first day I met him. And like I said, there was something about him that I was attached to, that I had grown to, and I was hungry for. And since then, he's kind of took me under his wing, like as a son, and we have a tremendous relationship. And there's hard times in it, but it's that father-son hard time, and I'm enjoying it. I'm embracing it, and what I'm not trying to be is selfish with that. So I feel like my job, my goal is to pass that down, that same love, that same compassion, that same hope. And so because of him, I've grown just a tremendous hunger for changing, our youth, our teenagers' lives, kids' lives.
So what do you do with the church then?
We're actually in this building here. We on Thursday nights we have our youth group 7 to 8:30 um, here in our youth building. I do a lot of the teaching. We try to make it fun, try to make it relatable. It's not just I never want to stand up there and just talk to them. A lot of times kids want somebody who will listen as well. Um, so I teach, help with our youth events, our camps. We go on field trips, and it's a Sunday through Monday, Sunday through Saturday type of thing. Every day, kids need people that are consistent, role models who are consistent. So there's a lot to it, always texting, always on social media, always in their inbox. How are you? I love you. Checking in. I'm proud. So there's a lot to it, but it's amazing to see the growth and the maturity and the change in the kids' lives.
How long have you been doing this?
It's been, let's say we're going about 3 years. About 3 years that I was here. I think I've been here 4. I think the first year I just kind of sat, which I'm still sitting underneath our pastor's teaching, but just kind of sat back and watched. For me, it's hard to trust sometimes, and I just wanted and needed to know that this was the place for me, and this was the lifestyle for me, and it was, but I just sat back and learned because a lot of times we feel like we have the answers, but sometimes it's just good to sit back and listen, pay attention and watch. And because of that, I feel like, I've been able to be groomed and molded into a different man. And so now, after that first year of just kind of staying still, it's been 3 years of crazy movement, and we're looking forward to the future. Awesome. So our pastor's name is Tony Boyd. Um, like I said, we're right here in Geneva. We have our service, our worship experience at 10 o'clock Sunday mornings. We typically get out about 11:30. We're a non-denominational church. We're alive. We believe that, save people. And, I know that I've been redeemed, I've been saved, and we try to pass that along and just show God's love. We're all about, reaching people who are far from God and bringing them into relationship, with Christ. And, we try to do that through our worship, through our messages. We have a lot of groups for people to connect. Some people might think we're a bigger church, but we try to make it feel small, by having groups, maybe 12 people in a group just connecting. Because nobody wants to show up to a place with hundreds of people and feel like nobody knows your name and nobody knows your story. So, we're all about connecting. We're all about relationships. And, it's a great time. Like I said, it changed my life for the better, most definitely. A lot of change, a lot of impact going on weekly. We have a YouTube. Our Instagram is the City Church. Our Facebook, the City Church. We have Tony Boyd on Facebook, Pastor Tony Boyd. Like I said, it's just something you don't want to miss out on. Something, and if you're unsure, just give it a try. It won't be for everybody, and that's okay. But you never know until you try it. So I would encourage it. Like I said, 10 o'clock Sunday mornings at Geneva High School.
My name's Tony Boyd. I'm the lead pastor at the City Church here in Geneva, where we have grown from 6 to a little over 500 in about 4 years. I remember when I first met Brandon, it was about 3 years ago. I was invited to speak at a community event from a murder that had happened in Ashtabula. And I was the last speaker of that night, and everybody had been there for a long time. They were ready to go. And in my typical fashion, I like to use humor a lot. I was there not to give my opinion or advice, but I rather wanted to close out the actual event. And in doing so, I got the attention of quite a few people, and Brandon happened to be one of them. I remember when I met him, he was this young, little strong guy and with big muscles. And, you know, I didn't know a lot about him, didn't know anybody, and started asking about him. And people gave me some negative feedback as to who he was and how, he was messed up and how, he liked to drink and he liked to do these things, and he wasn't a real faithful guy. And anytime, trouble came, he would run. And I became intrigued by that because my story is pretty similar. And I think a lot of times we're drawn to people who are like us. So when I met him, I saw just a guy who was lost and hurting. And I started a relationship with him and ended up getting him a job. And he ended up getting fired from the job that I got him. And it was kind of funny because, I put my name on the line and he had gotten fired. But I remember one of the pivotal moments was he was having some issues with his car. He had broken his hand playing football and he needed to get brakes. And I told him, I said, hey man, come on over to my house and I'll help you out. And it was kind of alarming and a little bit crazy to me because he didn't know anything. I could imagine if he had gotten a flat tire on the highway, he wouldn't have been able to change his tire. And we were sitting there, and I kind of was looking at him. I jacked up the car, and it was at that moment that I would say our relationship really began to form because I began to take what I would consider to be like a fatherly role in his life. And it was that day I taught him how to change brakes. And from there, we just continued to flourish. And he started coming to church. He ended up moving to Geneva. Like I said, he lost his job. We went through some things with that. And he was actually living in a gym here in Geneva, sleeping on a couch. But he always remained faithful and coming. And he had some issues, like all of us have issues. I've got issues, you've got issues, we've got issues. But we always were working toward those issues. And then one evening, we were just kind of hanging out, and we had worked out at the gym. I had went home, and he had sent a video of himself singing one of our songs. And I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I was like, "Who is this guy?" And he sings, this big, muscular football player guy. He's got this great voice, and I thought it was hilarious, actually, at first, thinking to myself, like, this isn't real. But I began to get a picture of his heart, and Brandon really became a part of the fabric of my family. Started coming over all of the time, eating dinner with myself, my wife, and my children, and he began to get the heartbeat of what our church, the city, is all about, which is reaching out and helping. We don't believe that a church is a building. We believe that we are the church and that we are the ones who make a difference in individuals' lives. And he really began to start to believe in that, and I started taking him places with me. We went to an event in Tennessee, Winterfest, and there were like 16,000 teenagers. And he knew at that moment, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I'm supposed to be doing something with kids. And from there, I started working with him with our youth and with our teens. And we started getting into schools in Ashtabula and Geneva. And, he began training kids. And, his passion and his purpose really began to be revealed. But all while he was beginning to discover that there was still something missing, and that was love. A lot of times we look at people based on their physical appearance, the mask, I like to say, that they wear, and we just assume, well, you look strong, so you must be strong. But the thing about Brandon that most people probably don't know is he's a really sensitive guy. And he'd grown up tough, absent father, not a great relationship with mom. And he had a lot of walls built up. And it's taken a while, but I like to give him a lot of credit that he's starting to take down some of those walls. But the only reason he's taking them down is because I believe that, I've been willing to love him, to care for him, to fight with him, to struggle with him, but most importantly, not give up on him. And I believe as a result of that, and as a result of his commitment and his love for God, that he's now beginning to not just flourish in his purpose and calling, but as a man and as a father as well. So, he calls me dad. I call him my son. And I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the man he's becoming. I'm proud of who he will become in the future. And I'm looking forward to, all that God has for him. So, Brandon, I love you, man. And I'll talk to you.
So what are some of the methods you use to try to reach your students or
Some of the kids, sure. I think for me personally, there, when you understand your calling and you get to a place where you know when you're walking in your purpose, and I know right now in my life that my purpose, and not just my purpose, my calling, my passion is for kids. So I'm always, I lose sleep, you know, over thinking about kids and their lives and what's going on. And I feel like, you know, God has given me that passion, that desire for them. So, you know, I guess I'm just never afraid to approach them. I feel like I try to stay in the gym and look cool for them, you know, and I don't look like, you know, a teen, but I try to um, relate to them. And a lot of them, it's hard for them to trust you, you know, so it's all about going, and everyone's different, you know, you got to go about it in different ways, I feel like. And if you can get a kid to gain your trust, you got them. You got them. You know, you can reel them right in, and from there, you just have so much influence. And we can only hope and pray, you know, that you'll lead them, you know, the right way.
how did you come about being a head of recreation?
There was an officer in town who approached me about it, let me know that there was a job opening, um, and that it kind of, you know, was right up my alley. Knew I work with kids, comes to the church, and so when he said there was an opening, and yeah, I don't think anybody inside applied. Once it became public, I applied. I think I had 3 interviews with the city manager, and you know, was able to be fortunate enough to receive the position.
What are the biggest challenges of the position?
Um, a lot of people, I believe, would say the public, but I actually enjoy that. I enjoy that side of it. Even when they're not happy with me, because it's then a challenge within myself to see what I can do to fix the situation and to better a program or whatever it may be. But I believe for me, it's more of just things that I've never done before. I feel like I'm a numbers guy, but just learning the budget, you know, how to move money around and, you know, getting more money, just things like that. But overall, it's when I can shake hands with people all the time and make kids happy and ref little kids in basketball and coach little kids in soccer and basketball, um, that overpowers, you know, any challenge, I believe.
What do you think are the biggest challenges facing the kids you deal with?
I think trust. I think trust. I think breaking down walls that have been built over time, over hurts, over pain, over tears. Just having the patience and the understanding and the wisdom to you know, to get through, to get over the wall or to break that wall down.
Do you ever have to help them deal with, say, peer pressure? You might want to take them down the wrong path.
Yeah, I would say peer pressure is probably one of the biggest things that our youth is dealing with now, and you know, at that point, it's something, again, I can relate to. I've dealt with it. I've made the wrong choices and I've made mistakes in my life. And I think the greatest part about it is my own testimony and to say, well, they messed up, and what happens a lot of times when a kid messes up and you've broke down the wall and they trust you and they love you and you know, and they know it's mutual. Um, what happens is they want to run away because they feel like they've let you down. And so I would say that's a big challenge, you know, in dealing with them. Um, but I think love overpowers that. Everything that I was searching for in all the wrong places was found in Christ. It truly was just, and I think love would be the biggest thing. Um, I love you didn't mean anything to me for a great portion of my life. It's kind of like, well, they're just words. Can and what God did was place people in my life who have shown me. They don't just tell me; they show me, and they mean it. And place people in my lives with the wisdom and the patience to break down the walls that were created through my pain growing up and through the walls that I've developed. And He's still working on me, you know. And the awesome thing about it is, you know, I remember going to my first youth camp as a leader, and I said, Pastor, I'm not ready. You know, like I'm still, I don't have my life together. And, you know, and I grew up thinking that's how church was. Like, you can't come here and be somebody that sins or that messes up and, you know, be in church because they'll judge you. And that's what I experienced growing up. So I didn't want anything to do with it. And I expressed that to him and said, no, like, I'm not going to act like I'm perfect, man. I'm not ready to be around these kids. I love it. I'm glad you see it in me, but I don't believe it myself that I'm ready for this. And he said, no, you don't wait until you get your life together to come to this church. Like, you come to this church to get your life together. And from that moment on, it's been a fun, life-changing ride from there. And again, everything that I've learned and heard from him, I try to pass that down because kids seem to have that same thought process that I had. You don't want me to come around, Mr. B. I'm still doing this. I'm that. Like, no, man, that's okay. Bring all your dirt here. You know, God can do something amazing with your mess, just like He's doing with mine.
Does it change your relationship with your children and how you approach that?
Yeah, they are, and they're my world. You know, my son Casey, he's 3 years old. My daughter Maylee is 8 years old, and I think God knew I needed a daughter first. You know, to calm me down and to see that there was still something left. You know, in my chest, there was still a heartbeat. And what she did was just show me, increase my heart. And I truly feel like God used her to show me how to love somebody, and how to trust somebody. And she's just, both of my kids, like, it doesn't matter what I've done, like, they don't care. They love their father. And because of that, I wouldn't trade them for the world. You know, they've impacted and changed my life in a crazy way. And they motivate me, they inspire me. They're smart, they're intelligent, and they're just, they're amazing. I see a lot of kids walking in the same shoes, that I was walking in. And I think one of the things that a kid at that age, at any age coming up, needs is just a sign of hope. And a lot of times, it's hard for them to listen to an adult because they feel like, well, you don't understand. Why would I tell you this? You don't really care. You just need me to play this sport for you. You just need me to do this for you. And God may be speaking to me now, and maybe that's why I'm not a coach right now. Because sometimes it's hard for a kid to open up, even though a coach plays a vital position, a tremendous role. Sometimes you feel like, as a player, you're looking for something out of me. And I think for me, if I can come and not ask anything of you and just be a giver to you and a provider for you as a kid in a hopeless situation, and if I can bring you some hope, then I think at that point, your wall comes down. And I have your ear. And if I have your ear, I trust that God will give me the wisdom at that point on to provide whatever's needed in your life. I have another mentor. He's from Ashtabula, Fred Parker. He lives down in Columbus now, works for a school system down there. And he was man, he's almost like one of the greatest like servants I know. You know, he's just always serving somebody, always trying to do something for somebody. And I remember in my darkest days before I really got into church, I was going through a lot. My daughter, and I wasn't getting to see her at the time, and he was my sign of hope, you know, in that place in my life. And I remember, you know, he got me a bus ticket to go down to Columbus, and I get down there, so I'm expecting this, you know, life changing conversation, and we got in the car, and then we went to a school, and we were at, you know, this big giveaway at a school. So he's like, just, hey, we're gonna hop in line. You know, I'll be in this line over here. What am I doing? We're giving back. You know, and I'm like, man, like, well, all right, you know. But it taught me how to see that, like, what God's trying to do is bigger than your situation. And it was a moment where I was able to put Brandon to the side, you know, and look in the eyes of all these little kids, you know, coming up, and all these world changers coming up, you know, and be able to give to them, even though I had my own bad situation going on. So Fred is somebody, you know, we speak to this day, um, and I can call, and he's the calm, you know, to my situation still, you know, just kind of, you know, a father figure, but more of just like that mentor is a strong word and a strong meaning when it comes to him. And I've had a few coaches, Sean Allgood, Terry Hinton, um, you know, to this day, I use the tools that they've given me. Um, it wasn't just the what they had me do training in the sports, but the words they were saying still stick. You know, so even when I'm teaching now, when I'm training kids now, it's a little bit of Fred, it's a little bit of Pastor Tony, it's a little bit of Terry, it's a little bit of Allgood, wrapped in one. And I feel like that's what's helped me. You know, them voices, that love has helped me to come and develop into the man that I'm becoming.
Now, if somebody wanted to reach you, how would they reach you?
So from public,
Yeah.
social media, you know, I'm on Facebook. It's Brandon M as in Michael Hanna. I try to keep that thing up all the time because kids are on there all the time. You know, so you can message me on there. You can shoot me a request. You can reach me or my pastor through our church Facebook, the city. You shoot a message on there. We have all of our information on our church's Facebook page. So you can contact me that way, contact pastors. We can provide help, provide hope, you know, whatever it is that people are in need of. You know, that's what we're here for. We're not a church that's just inside four walls. And I think it's awesome because we don't even have our own building right now. And there's a purpose in that, you know, because it's not about the building. You know, we are the church. You know, we are the light. So we're here. You know, we're in the city. You can find me at the rec center, and you'll probably find me in there jumping around and sweating with, you know, a bunch of 10-year-olds or 15-year-olds and just having fun. So I'm in Geneva. I'm here.